friends, it is MAZIE with Barbecue Boy MAZIE. I am so excited to be here right now for this cook. This is the first cook on my new Austin XL Onyx edition, and we are doing beef ribs for our first cook. I could hardly sleep last night. I was so excited. I am going to walk you step by step through this entire cook, from what ribs you're looking for when you're going to buy them, trimming, spritzing, how you know when they're done, which might be the most important part. I was telling my husband last night, because I was just looking forward to this cook so much, that beef ribs might just be the best bite in barbecue. You might hear it be referred to as brisket on a stick, and they ain't kidding, because it's delicious. In this cook, we really want to focus on building up a great bark, because that is going to be such amazing flavor when you go to bite into your beef rib. I am going to show you how to achieve the perfect bite in barbecue. And I got to tell you, it's really not that hard. We are getting an early start on this cook today. It's going to take about 8 to 9 hours is my estimation, but as always, you can't rush perfection. So I already have my Austin XL heating up to 250 degrees. I always forget to mention what pellets I have in my smoker, but today I have the Pit Boss Classic Blend pellet in the smoker. So enough yapping, let's jump in and start prepping these ribs so we can get them on the smoker. Let's go. I got a little ahead of myself. I'm just so freaking excited. All right, let's talk about what ribs you want to buy. Okay, there's different kinds of ribs when you go to buy beef ribs. You might see these be referred to as chuck ribs or the dino ribs, because they got big old bones. What you're looking for is 3 bones, okay? These are the big ribs. They got a lot of meat on them. My grocery stores do not carry these. I have to get them from a butcher or special ordered online. They've got the smaller racks of beef ribs with not very much meat on them, and in my opinion, they are not worth the pellets of even cooking them. You just really want the big 3-bone rack of beef ribs. All right, now we can start prepping. Let's start on the back of the beef ribs. You've got 3 bones, 1, 2, 3. Beef ribs do have a membrane like pork ribs, and I am not going to remove them because they are what essentially is holding these 3 bones together. So I'm just going to remove some of this hard fat from the back. I'm just going to score this. Let's flip it over. All right, remember, fat is our friend, so we don't want to take all of this fat off the top. It's going to render down throughout the cook and be delicious. So right here, you can see that this is a different shade than this. This is silver skin. And what I'm going to do is just point my boning knife. I've got a very sharp tip on the knife there. Point it down. Try not to remove much meat. Slide under and cut through it. It's not going to render down. See, now I'm into fat. It's just got a completely different texture than the fat on this meat. So all through here is some silver skin. So I'm going to try and do my best to remove most of that without removing a bunch of the fat or the meat. So that is all I'm going to remove. There's a little bit here, but the rest looks fine for me. If you look at this corner, there's quite a bit of meat overhanging here. That is just going to burn and get crunchy. So I'm just going to cut off the corner there. Same with this corner. This is just going to help the meat cook a little more evenly. All right, now we are going to season the beef. I've got a little bit of that WOOO sauce as a binder. This is going to help our rubs stick. I don't like this fat. This fat right here is kind of thick. It's a little too much there. And I just didn't like the way that was looking. I'm feeling better about it already. Beef ribs are really good with a base of salt and pepper. You could even just use salt and pepper. I'm using the Pit Boss Smoky Salt and Cracked Pepper. Going pretty heavy on the seasoning because this is a big piece of meat. We get our sides here. So for beef ribs, I don't season the back at all. There's really no point. You're not going to be gnawing on the back of this beef rib. Then I'm going to come in, I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of Texas barbecue rub. It's just another layer of flavor on the top. Not going to go as heavy on this one. Again, we have our smoker set to 250 degrees for this cook. Let's get these beef ribs on the smoker. Look how beautiful. All right, so in the pit boss, the firebox is directly in the middle. I don't want to put my ribs directly in the middle of the smoker so it's not right over the firebox. We're going to go to the left or right. So with beef ribs, like I said, our goal is to build a fantastic bark. So what I am going to do is I'm going to let these smoke for 3 hours untouched. I'm not even going to open the lid no matter how bad I am tempted. I'm not going to do it. After 3 hours, I will come check on the ribs and I will have my spritz mixture ready to go. So I got 3 hours to kill. Step 1, Diet Coke. Step 2, my kids will probably dictate those 3 hours, but I can't wait because I got beef ribs on the smoker. Beef ribs on the smoker. All right, we'll see you back out here at the beautiful Austin XL in 3 hours. Let's go. It has been exactly 3 hours. I can hardly wait to see these beef ribs. We've got our spritz ready. I just have a cheap spray bottle. You don't need anything fancy. I'm using apple juice today. There's really a lot of options that you can use when it comes to spritz. You can use regular old H2O, apple juice, apple cider vinegar, beef broth, Worcestershire sauce, hot sauce. Really, this is where you get to run wild. So today, applesauce. Let's spritz these ribs. Oh my gosh, they look amazing. I'm already seeing some bones. Okay, we don't want to spritz too much. We don't want to spritz our rub off. But from this point forward, we are going to just be spritzing every hour. Remember, we're building layers to build that delicious bark. There's just nothing better than coming out to the smoker, smelling that meat, and spritzing every hour. I will see you guys back out here in 1 hour. Let's go. Our fourth spritz. That bark looks really nice already. So that means this is our 7th hour of the cook. So we're at the 8-hour mark. Just spritzed. Being close so you can see how our bark is developing. You don't want to go directly on top of the bone. I'm going to go right here in the middle. Like about 196, 197. It honestly feels pretty tender. There's a teensy bit of resistance. Remember, we want the perfect beef ribs, so we're not gonna get impatient. We're gonna let these keep going. All right, let's have a quick chat about where we are in the cook because we are certainly getting towards the end of the cook. This is the part of the cook where it is super easy to rush through it, get impatient, but I promise if you hang in there a little bit longer, you're going to elevate your barbecue and your food that much more. So when I probed it with my Thermopin, it honestly felt really tender. I would be really happy to eat that rib, but I know if I'm patient and let it go just a little bit longer, it's going to be that much better. And more importantly, the fat is going to have more time to render and the bark is going to have even more time to develop. Those are two very important things when you're making beef ribs. Now for a final temperature on these ribs, we're looking for a temperature between 200, 203. You can even go a little bit higher. Remember, that is just simply a guide. We're really looking for the tenderness in these ribs. There was just a teensy bit of resistance, so I'm fine with leaving them on. As far as wrapping goes, you do not want to wrap your ribs until you are completely happy with the bark that has developed. And you truly don't even have to wrap them at all. So If you do want to wrap your ribs, I would not start to even think about wrapping them until hour 7 or 8. And then at that point, if you're happy with the bark, go ahead and wrap them in butcher paper, no foil, butcher paper. For this cook today, I will come out in 1 hour. I'm gonna bring you along with me. We're in it for the long haul. Let's go. Woo. Well, it was a long cook. I was bound to forget to turn on my mic. So you're getting a little voiceover action, but what I'm showing you here is I'm probing the meat. The temperature is not exactly 200 to 203. We're in the high 190s, 200 in some parts, but the tenderness felt perfect. It was probing like absolute butter. And so I am going to pull the ribs off the smoker and wrap them in butcher paper so that they can rest. I am telling you here, do not forget to rest your ribs at least 30 minutes. I'm going for an hour, wrapping in butcher paper. Please, for the love of everything, don't use foil. You're going to destroy the bark you worked all day to develop. We're going to put our ribs in the oven inside, turned off. This is just merely holding the ribs at a warm temperature. You can wrap them up in towels or blankets, put them in an empty cooler. Just make sure you let those sweet babies rest. Let's go. All right, the ribs have been resting for 1 hour, so let's open them up and slice them and taste them. So I have my Pit Boss brisket knife to slice these ribs. Easiest way I think to slice the ribs is to flip it over. Now I can see the bones here. It's extremely tender, so I'm going to be super careful, because that is some good, tender, moist meat just dripping. All right, the moment I personally have been waiting for. I got to taste some of this rib. Oh. Woo! I have got juices just pouring down my hands. There's seriously nothing better than delicious barbecue. That bark is perfect. It's super tender. The flavor is incredible. If you ever have the opportunity to smoke beef ribs or even just to purchase them, take your opportunity, because it is truly that good. It's going to be expensive, but I promise you it is worth it. All right, you know I love to do this. If you have made it this far, please comment blue kangaroo so that I know who's watching with me till the end. Just to recap this cook, 9 hours total smoke time. Then I rested for 1 hour, totaling out at 10 hours. It was worth every single second of that 10 hours. Smoked on the Pit Boss Onyx XL using classic blend pellets. That was the first cook on the Austin XL, and I can't think of a better way to break it in. I truly enjoyed this cook. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff. I truly appreciate the support. You have a great rest of your day. I'll see you back out here next time.